These rock stars have headlined festivals, trashed hotel rooms, and of course released some of the most critically acclaimed and beloved music of all time. But truth is often stranger than fiction, and you won't believe what these legendary rockers are getting up to nowadays. Iggy Pop is a man who well deserves his moniker, the godfather of punk. His band, The Stooges, were notorious for their heavy sound, their embracing of the rock and roll lifestyle, and their wild, unpredictable stage presence. They were as punk gets. Rowdy, angry, and fun as hell. To say Iggy's career has since swerved away from that, though, really is an understatement.
I not only collect chairs, but I go and sit in each one every day over and over because I'm like, I've got a chair.
While he hasn't given up music, not by a long shot, Iggy today is known for two things. The first is his acting career. While he's performed on the big and little screens for decades, it's in the last few years that he's truly proved his worth as a thespian, and his career has taken off as a result. He's appeared in productions as wide-ranging as Terrence Malick's Song to Song and even Grand Theft Auto 4. Beyond this, however, Iggy is also well known in the UK as a radio DJ and host of his own show on BBC Radio 6. Once upon a time, Keith Richards might well have been the most rock and roll person on earth. His public image was that of a high-flying rebel, a conglomeration of drugs, booze, and serious partying. He's been repeatedly arrested for drug offenses, had a number of whirlwind romances, and practically began the cliche of the raucous rock star. Things, of course, change, as they probably will for you when you reach your 70s.
This is to remind me never to get arrested again.
Today, Richard's life is a little more subdued. The Rolling Stones still tour, of course, and continue to break new ground, like playing Glastonbury for the first time. But his private life undoubtedly sits on the straighter and narrower side of the spectrum. Case in point, in 2014, he wrote a children's book titled Gus and Me, which chronicled his earliest experiences in music with help from his grandfather. He's also cut back dramatically on his drug and alcohol intake, admitting to the Irish Independent, "I'm not saying I'm definitely off all of this stuff. In 6 months' time, I might be on it again. But at the moment, for a couple of months, I haven't touched it." Elsewhere, Richards presents the occasional BBC 4 show and spends time on Parrot Cay, a private island resort. Rich and relaxed? Looks like this Rolling Stone's gathering a little moss, huh? Adam Ant had quite the decade back in the 80s. His new wave band, Adam and the Ants, was one of the most popular and fashionable bands of the era, while Adam, real name Stuart Goddard, later went on to enjoy a successful solo career too. His hits, including Ant Music, Stand and Deliver, and Goody Two Shoes, are among the most whimsical tunes of the 80s, and Goddard himself inspired a generation of youths with his punk-tinged dandy style. That all came to an end, however, in 2002, when Goddard was arrested under the Mental Health Act for threatening locals with a starter pistol at a pub in London. In recent years, Goddard has learned to live with his mental health issues and spoken candidly about his experience with bipolar disorder. Today, he not only continues to tour and record music, but is also a staunch advocate for mental health awareness, including working with the British charity SANE to help begin a national conversation about depression and suicide. Terry Chimes was the original drummer for The Clash, recording with the band on their self-titled debut. He also toured with the group across the USA and the UK, and has performed with rock stars like Black Sabbath, Billy Idol, Hanoi Rocks, and Gen X. Naturally, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2003 along with the rest of The Clash.
And I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame very much indeed. Thank you all very much.
Despite playing for one of the greatest punk rock bands of all time, however, the Chimes of today is more or less unrecognizable. Chimes, who has admitted he was never the drugs and booze kind of rock star, ended up taking a break from music in the late 80s to become a chiropractor, having been inspired when another chiropractor healed his arm after he injured his shoulder bowling. He currently runs his own clinic in South Woodford, a quiet corner of East London, and he plays drums for the Grunge, a power pop band with punk influence. Bob Dylan is one of the most prolific musicians of all time. Ask anyone just what Dylan gave the world and you're likely to hear something about his output during the 60s and 70s. Blowin' in the Wind, The Times They Are A-Changin', Like a Rolling Stone, that kind of thing. And why wouldn't you? His music went far beyond music, driving the counterculture of that era. While Dylan still plays, however, his career has now taken something of a new turn. In the 21st century, he's as well known in cultural circles as an author, a poet, and a visual artist as he is anything else. In fact, his paintings are lauded by critics worldwide.
His work has been on constant display in Manchester for almost 10 years.
According to Dylan, he's interested in people, histories, myth, and portraits. and it shows in his paintings which depict slices of American life. For his musical endeavors, he also received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2016, an award he originally refused to accept.
The Nobel Prize in Literature for 2016 is awarded to Bob Dylan.
The fact that he's become renowned as an all-around artist might be no surprise to anyone who recognized his skill as a musician back in the old days, but just how far he's managed to excel is still nothing short of incredible.